Hello everyone and welcome again. I hope you've all managed to swim home safely after your science exam today. If there's any consolation to you, the A23 was beastly and deeply unpleasant on a motorbike. But please say hello in the comments. It'd be great to welcome you all. This is the plan of attack for today, but I thought we'd start off with the usual thing, a bit of quizzing. So what about this one? This one goes back to last week's. Oh, hello. Let's have a look. I've got some questions here already. Can you email me those topics needed to know in computer science? If you, Yusuf, have a look on the Hazelwick CP website, so type in Hazelwick CP, and then you'll see that's the departmental website, and it's got the list of topics on there. Have a look now. Tell me if you can find it. Okay. If not, I'll dig out the the web address. But if you type in Hazelwick CP, you'll find it. So hopefully that's you. Hello, nice to see you, by the way. And Aditya, you were asking me, is the topic primary storage of cloud management? I didn't see it in the checklist. If it's not in the checklist, it's not in there. I think that's a safe thing to say, because that checklist on the website is everything that will be in the exam. Having looked through paper one again, I am reasonably confident that you guys are in a pretty good place for the exam tomorrow. Assuming you've done some revision, that is. But you should be, because we've covered all of this stuff now. So what do we think about this one? Before we get on to the main course today, what is true for a mesh network? Can you remember this this was 2 weeks ago? Ooh, look at this. Flynn has come straight in with A. This type of network requires a switch. I'm going to say to that one, it's the mesh network. So, and let's have a look. We've got Aditya, who also says A. We've also got Man Like Paul. Good day to you. Nice to see you. I'm even wearing my Christmas jumper, so I'm hoping that's making you feel super festive. Oh, Flynn has come back in with a reassessment of that answer, as has Yi Ching. Hi, Yi Ching. How are you? And yes, exacto mundo. That's what it is. It is, in fact, C, because that is the one that can be expensive, the mesh network. The mesh network is when every node is connected to every node, and my head is in the way. So there we go. That's the one, okay? That's the mesh network for you. Don't forget, only a couple of networks to remember. Think about the advantages and the disadvantages and the use case for each one. All right, what about this one? DNS, something students struggle with quite often. Why are you sending Emad on Discord? Tell me. What's he done to deserve that? Oh, Emad, I ignored you. You're on C, and you were, Emad, absolutely spot on. And in fact, you were Emad before Flynn, actually, so you get a ding. You can also have an air horn, just by way of apology. What do you reckon to this one? What does DNS stand for? I'm going to push on. We've got Flynn saying, is it C? I think that was the previous one you had the answer for anyway. Domain name server, okay? DNS. Make sure you're happy what DNS is and what it does, because that is something that they love to ask in the exam. Bogdan, I jumped in really early to try and move things on, but you were absolutely spot on. You can have a special ding, and in fact, even a round of applause. Man like Paul, decent handle, that one. Absolutely spot on. So that's what we're talking about with DNS. I'm going to push on because I definitely want to go. I went 1 minute over last time, which I think was disgraceful. What is the role of a web server? All quite technical questions, these. These were from 2 weeks ago when I sat here on my own with no friends, mainly because I hadn't sent you the link. But anyway, what is the role of a web server? Is it to control centralized access to a website, to allow the user to create their own web pages, or to request specific web page from a web host and display the results? What do we think? What do we think it is? What have we got? We've got 16 people. That's good. Ooh, Hash Brown Gaming has come in with A, which is very interesting. Any other takers? The role of a web server? Should we push on? Let's see if Hash Brown Gaming is correct with the answer A, shall we? Yes, he is. You're a good man. That is absolutely outstanding. I think the least I can give you is a bicycle horn. So there we are. All right, a couple more of these, and then we'll get on to the onto today's business, which is protocols and layers. What is meant by hosting? Now, I don't wish to repeat myself here, but were there to be a scenario-based question in the exam tomorrow? Oh, that was quick, man like Paul. That was super quick. Should we see if you're right? Let's stick him up here. That was outstanding, by the way. You're a good man. Let's stick man like Paul up here and see if A is the right answer for this one. Although with the lag, it's quite hard to see which one you're actually answering. I guess you were answering the previous one. The answer is B for this one, a service that allows individuals and organizations to make their website available on the World Wide Web. That's hosting, okay? I was going to say, remember the question you had about the law firm, and it was this scenario, and it was about hosting their files in the cloud, something like cloud computing. And if you didn't talk about the scenario itself, you could only access half the marks. So listen, guys, you know the exam tomorrow, use the time. You've got over a minute per question. So if you've got a 6-mark question, take 6 minutes of it. Don't start writing straight away. Because the minute you start writing, the problem is you stop thinking. So just bear that in mind tomorrow, okay? And tomorrow is all about getting good feedback. So all we want to know, what do you know, what don't you know, and then you can plan for May. What about this one? Cloud computing. Handy, isn't it? What is it? Using the internet to communicate with others, storing hard copies of data as backup, or using the internet to store and access data and programs remotely. What do we think? And bearing in mind, if you're looking for definitions of things, these, oh, look at Bogdan. He was in there like a very quick man indeed. You can have a glockenspiel, a bicycle horn, and some applause. And we've got Aditya who's jumping as well. What a good man he is. Let's give Aditya a triangle, so the least we can do. And Hash Brown Gaming, who is also a modern day hero. Not forgetting Yi Ching, who is also a superstar with an air horn. So there we go. Very impressive. So use these for your definitions if you're not quite sure about them. Just copy out the definitions and learn them. That's what you're expected to produce. So everything we've given you here, these are examination answers, okay? So they will be really handy in the real thing. Indeed, and tomorrow, I couldn't resist putting this one in there. 7 minutes, always 7 minutes. Okay, so who made the exam for tomorrow? The exam for tomorrow is all past paper examination questions. And it was, I won't say who made it, but the person who made it knows what you have done. And you should be certainly okay for that paper, okay? And as long as you've done some revision. That's why we keep nagging you to revise. Because if you do the mocks and then the feedback is meaningless if you haven't revised. So what about this? What about this? So by the way, who made it is irrelevant because we've all covered the same stuff. Or you've covered this stuff for paper 1 rather. Yeah, it should be okay. Just take your time because you guys rush in the exam. That's my biggest worry, is that you just rush like mad. Okay, so we've got Aditya who's saying that A is MAR. And we've got Aditya who's saying B is MDR. Any more ideas? I keep hammering this one because I think it's the hardest one to remember of all the stuff you've got to keep inside your head. Do you know what? 7 minutes gone. I'm going to push on and let's try and remind ourselves. C is ALU. Let's see how many of these you've got right then, shall we? So we've got A is the MAR. That was a ding for Aditya. We've got B, which is the MDR, which is yet again a ding. We've got C, which is the accumulator. And we've got a man like Paul. You were on fire there. That is good. But Aditya, this was right. And this was right. Man like Paul, this was good. Bogdan, C, accumulator. That is spot on. Bogdan, D, PC. Oh, you guys have got it now. Only took us 3,000 attempts. So that is pretty good. ACC... It's all right. It's good. It's not easy. So you've got those, which is really, 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 really good. I think that's the nastiest thing in that in the system architecture bit. So this is the menu item for today, is wired and wireless networks. And let's see where this sits in terms of the specification. We will have finished 1.3 today. So we are exactly today halfway through paper 1. So we've got to do the same again to get through the rest of it. And then we've got paper 2 to do. We're going to run paper 2 slightly differently in that I'm going to get Miss Silver to help me run that part. So I'm going to be doing a sort of a FaceTime thing with her that you'll see. And sometimes I'm going to act as a student who doesn't know what's going on. And she's going to tell me how to answer questions. I'm going to give that a go and see if it's any use to you. Because I know there are some of you who are quite fearful of the paper 2 questions. But same thing applies, you know, with paper 2. It's only in section B of paper 2 where they can force you to actually write things in pseudocode. So everywhere else, plain English will suffice, and you can use flowcharts as well. So don't forget, try and get as many marks as you can. As you can. Input, process, output. We'll talk more about that next week. Although it'll be gone actually because you got it on Friday, haven't you? Okay, so this is where we are: computer network connections and so on, and we're moving on to network security next week. I thought this was quite useful because these are all the protocols that you need to understand. You don't need to know a huge number of details about each of these, but you do need to basically know their features and what they do. And we'll cover the concept of layers towards the end of today. 10 minutes gone. I thought this was useful because that first box I've got there, the one in what is it, purple pink, is this idea that a protocol is a set of rules for transferring data. Quite a handy little definition there. And then you've got different protocols, different sets of rules for doing different things. And we're going to look at the different things that you can do today. Layers used in protocols, and we talked about the 4-layer TCP IP model. We're going to look at that later on today, and we'll look at TCP IP in more detail. You don't need to understand how the protocols work in terms of Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth. Static, dynamic, public, private IP addresses, don't worry about that. And also the names and function of each TCP and IP layer, you don't need to know that because this is GCSE, so that you don't need to go into that level of detail. All right, so let's go into the 10-minute teach. 11 minutes in. Definitions. A protocol is a set of rules that allow devices on a network to communicate with each other. And obviously the benefit there is that it allows cross-platform communication and cross-device compatibility. If everyone's using a different set of standards, then the whole thing's a total mess. So everyone's using the same system, okay? And a protocol, it gives you a standard way of doing things. You knew that from last week. Protocol's a set of rules, and we're going to look at different sorts of sets of rules. Okay, the first one is TCP IP. This is the chief one. This one, and I think email. Those are the two that are probably the most significant here. So TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. And if you stop panicking about that phrase and think about transmission, it does mean about sending data, okay? And the internet protocol bit is the sending the data on the internet. So you've got how the data is sent and the medium along which it's sent, that being the internet, if that makes sense to you. All right, so we're going to look at the TCP protocol and the IP protocol because these two are kind of rubbed together, kind of put together. So TCP, let's think about when data is sent across the internet. If you were sending a large file or a large image, it would get chopped into small pieces called packets. And those packets are each numbered and they are sent individually across the internet. Now, they may arrive at their destination in a different order. So, for example, if you've got a large file that's being chopped up into 10 packets, you've got packet 1 of 10, 2 of 10, 3 of 10, and 4 of 10, and they're labelled that way. And they are sent via the quickest means to their destination. Now, that quickest means could be different for packet 1 than it is for packet 2. And it's possible that packet 3 gets there before packet 2. So they're all chopped up, put into packets, sent via various different routers to their destination. And the router knows the next address that it needs to send it to. So the routers are doing quite a clever job there. And once they get to the destination, they're then put back together. There's a check to make sure that all the packets are there. If the packets aren't there, then a request gets sent back to resend from the sender's computer, okay? And that's the kind of story of how packet switching works. It's really clever. So TCP involves the transmission of data packets and the file being split into data packets and the reassembling at the other end and the error checking to make sure the packets have arrived. And it's called a checksum, which is where an algorithm is done on the data that's sent based on how large the packet is. And that algorithm is run at the other end to make sure that what you sent is what's arrived. And if not, a request to resend it is sent, okay? I'm going to pass on that. I have got no idea. So then we go to the IP side of things. So this protocol, you've got TCP that hands to IP, IP hands back to TCP, and so on. So these two work in tandem. They kind of work together. And the IP bit, the Internet Protocol bit of it, is the addressing. So that's what the routers do. And it uses IP addresses. So it is quite a complicated affair. And you've got two sets of rules that work together. And it hands it off to one, and then it hands it back to the other. And that's how stuff gets sent across the internet. It's actually pretty astonishing. So that is TCP/IP. But what's on the screen there is what you're going to need to know. But that idea of packet switching and how it works is going to help hugely. And they can actually ask you to put it in the order that in the order in which things happen, in the sequence when it comes to TCP/IP. So you would do well to have a look at that before the real exam and make sure that you're happy with how that sequence works. Okay, so that's TCP/IP. And that's worth a bit of extra investment of your time beyond what I'm doing here. All right, easy. HTTP, HTTPS. So that's Hypertext Transfer Protocol and Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. Let's deal with the secure bit first of all. The secure is exactly the same as HTTP, except it's encrypted. Hence, it's secure. And you know where you get the lock in the address bar on your web browser, or you get HTTPS, that tells you that it's secure. The data being sent across the internet is encrypted. And we all know that it's turning plain text into ciphertext to render the data unintelligible should it be intercepted by a man-in-the-middle attack. All right, so Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It's an application protocol. It's at the application level. All right, we'll talk about layers later on, but there's the application layer, which deals with applications. And it's used to transfer web pages. Now, of course, web pages consist of text, images, sound, and they're sent over the internet. And the protocol, that defines the format of the data and the commands that are used between the web server and the browser. So that's HTTP, something that you use all the time. And of course, web pages are written in HTML, hypertext markup language. So this is how web pages are displayed. This is how images are sent across the net. Okay. So that is your HTTP and HTTPS. Crumbs, only 13 minutes left. Time does fly when you're having fun. All right, so next up, we've got FTP. This is File Transfer Protocol. If you've ever built your own website, you'd have come across this, because File Transfer Protocol is an effective way of moving files, to transfer files across the network. So say, for example, you want to set up a web page, and web pages consist of images, sounds, and text, don't they? So you're going to need to move all those images, sounds, and text from your computer, from your node, onto your web server, and you'd use FTP to transfer them. So it's a transfer protocol. Usually it involves it's got users may need a username and password. Users always need a username and password using FTP, and it can also be used to share files because it's a more effective way of doing it. And in fact, I think that Dropbox and the like, that's an FTP protocol. Okay, but don't use the word Dropbox because you're not talking about individual company's name. It's FTP is the system. Okay, that's the protocol that we're looking at here, and that's what it does. So understanding what it does is the important thing. All right, so that is your FTP. Let's go on and have a look at these. Now we're into the email protocols. You've got 3 to worry about. But the good news is I'm going to pick the bottom one first, which is SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Now this protocol is to do with sending emails to an email, my head's in the way, to an email server. There we go. Can you see that? And between mail servers. So the SMTP is for sending mail. The first 2 are for receiving mail. All right. Now, the older protocol is called POP, the Post Office Protocol. And it's a set of rules for how you receive emails. And the way it works is that emails are downloaded to the client software. The client software might be your version of Outlook you've got, or whatever email client you use. It could be Mail, it could be whatever. So you've got your email client, and it downloads it onto your computer, and the emails are removed from the server. And that's really the only difference between POP and IMAP, the Internet Message Access Protocol. I would have said, Aditya, it's an updated version of POP, because the benefit with IMAP is that, see the third point I've got there, emails remain on email server. Because of course, when email first came out, people were only reading emails on their computer. But as time has gone on, people want to be able to pick up their emails from where they left off on whatever device. So if you use POP and you've downloaded it to your computer, then when you go on your phone, it's not there because it's on your computer because it's been taken off the server. So the IMAP allows all of your, because your emails remain on the web server, it allows all of your devices to sync. So, and it's really clever because it can show, hi Ben, good to see you. Well done for being here. Oh crumbs. Well, it's funny you've got that one. Do you know? This is why I have a clean shaven face, because it's pantomime season again, and I'll be dressing in an even more silly outfit in a couple of weeks. But there we are. So SMTP, no IMAP. Sorry, emails remain on server, which allows syncing to take place. Does that make sense? So the sending one is the bottom one, SMTP. The top two, the older one is POP, where the emails are removed from the server, and the second one is IMAP, where they stay on the server, which allows syncing to take place. Again, there's slightly more to it than that, but that's kind of 3/4 of what you need there. I don't know. I'm not so keen. I think I look like a boiled egg without a beard, quite frankly. But there we go. Also, I've forgotten what a pain shaving is. I don't recommend it. It's a bit irritating. Okay, we're doing well actually. We've got 9 minutes left. So the concept of layers. Right. So listen, layers. Layers is an abstraction of networking. Layers is a way of getting all of these different systems to work together. Now let's think about it more broadly. First of all, at the very root of it, you've got electricity going through cables and going into computers. Okay, so that's at a very low level, where the way in which electricity is being moved around. And then at the very high level, you're doing FTP, and you're creating web pages, and then you've got all of the stuff in between. So each layer is an abstraction of networking. All right. And so it's splitting the network into separate layers, with each layer doing a different task or function. And there's benefits to this. And what's actually quite interesting is that each layer can only work with the layer above it or below it. If you go to the Key Stage 4 bit at the top, Key Stage 4 revision, I think. Can someone guide Yusuf? I think it's Key Stage 4 revision. I can have a look at the end and find it for you. So fundamentally, each layer can only deal with the layer above or layer below it. Okay, and it can't communicate with the other layers. So it means that you can change one layer and it's not going to impact all of the other network layers, and it can ignore the layers that aren't relevant to it. So again, layers is a concept they like to ask about, and I've got a question in a couple of minutes' time that might help you a bit with that. For the purpose of your exam, these are the 4 layers that you need to be aware of. The application layer, which I've talked about, the transport layer, which is about message delivery, the internet, which is moving packets from source to destination, from where they start to where they finish, and to provide internetworking. And you've got the network interface, which is responsible for transmitting between 2 devices, okay, on the same network. So you've got various different layers within that model. So it's quite interesting to think about all IT as separate layers that work together. Do you see that? Swiftblade, Hash Brown's giving a bit of advice there. If you're stuck, ask again, because someone is on the website, but it's all there. Okay. Okay. So that is the layers. All right, so let's go on and do a bit of a quiz and see how far we get. Here's the first one. What does HTTPS stand for? I know you know this. This is a very, very straightforward one. Let's start my timer. There we go. What does HTTPS stand for? First correct answer. I'll move on. Good man, good man, good man. We have got, yes. Oh, gosh, you're so quick. We've got Aditya, who said B. We've got Emad, who said A. We've got Swiftblade, who's found the right place on the website. We've got Hash Brown, who says B. 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 Okay, let's go for a bicycle horn, because indeed that is correct. Let's go on. It is the secure one. Okay, so the S stands for secure. All right, next. Well done, Ben. Outstanding. Emad, that was good. Bogdan, did I praise you? Ben, BBB, outstanding. Okay, what about this one? What have we got? Which two of these protocols deal with email? Do you remember? Just covered these. We've got IMAP, we've got HTTP, A and D. Let's have a look. Aditya says A and D, IMAP, and yes, you are absolutely spot on. What can I? You can have a party noise, Aditya. Don't say I don't spoil you. Okay. We've got A and D from Hash Brown. We've got Bogdan with AD. All right, guys. So you have MAB with AD. You've all got it. You've got Ben, who at least is being honest. So let's crack on with that. I'm trying to think which pantomime that was. Was that? I can't remember. Right. Okay. IMAP and SMTP. So what is a protocol? What's a protocol? I've got 4 minutes left. You know what? I'm going to push on. You know this one. I'm going to just get on with it. We all know it's a set of rules. So let's do a more tricky one, because you lot are too smart for that. What does FTP? By the way, even though you're super smart, you still got it right. Outstanding. What about this one? What does FTP stand for? FTP. Folder Transfer Protocol? Yeah, you were right for the previous one. So were you for the previous one. What about this one, though? C, File Transfer Protocol. That's the first one we've got for this, which is EMAD. EMAD gets a glockenspiel. Aditya can have some applause. And hold down and Hash Brown. That's brilliant. Okay, so that is absolutely spot on. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. That's the way of moving files most efficiently from one place to another. All right. Transmission splits it into what? Packets, parcels, segments. You know this one, don't you? It's something switching. Go and revise a bit on packet switching. I'm going to do it tonight, but for the real thing, packet switching, make sure that you've had a look at it, okay? Ooh, we got B. Look at all of this. We got B. We got B. We got B. We've got a thumbs up, and we've got B. So I take it you found it. That's good. All right, you guys are outstanding. I think that's party noises. It's a ding, and push the boat right out there. What have I got? 3 minutes. Yeah, packets. That was good. What's next? We have got a couple more of these. Which layer of the TCP/IP model splits data into packets and reassembles them at the destination? Which layer? Slightly more tricky. Ooh, I can set my timer to go. And then totally ignore it, as I usually do. Oh, and I can start it. There we go. So we've got D, I think, from EMAD. We've got D from Swiftblade. So EMAD has said D. Swiftblade has said D. Any more takers? Are we all going for transport? We've got Hash Brown going for A. Well, this is split the field slightly here. Well, I think we'll put ourselves out of our misery and give you the answer. And the answer is, it is D. You were absolutely spot on. So well done, guys. That was outstanding. I think I'm going to run out of these. I've got 2 minutes left. I'm not going to go over today because I felt bad about going over, because you guys need to get yourself sorted out for tomorrow. In the layer model, if one layer is improved, what happens to the other layers? They get updated. They can no longer communicate. Nothing. Layers are independent. What do we think? Here is some random thinking music. Oh, crumbs, I didn't need that long, did I? Right. So we've got Emad, who is saying C. Should we see if he's correct? Because I've got a sneaky suspicion, Emad, that you've got that right. Well done. Outstanding, okay. Really, really good. Yes, I have seen the test, and I think that you're going to do really well at it, as long as you've revised. Because this paper one stuff, you know, it's just practice. Don't forget, you've missed a year, and you've had a bit of practice. So it's about doing a bit of revision and making sure that you can improve things again for that big push in May, okay? What about this one? We're almost there. What is the question? This is the answer from a mark scheme. A division of network functionality. What is the question? So the definition that the OCR gave, a division of functionality. What's the question? Tricky one. I can give you a clue. It's not who won the FA Cup in 1962. Not the question. Not the question. Who won the double in 70-71? It was Arsenal. That's not the question. Any ideas? Any ideas? Nasty, nasty question. It's 7 o'clock. So I will give you the answer. And the answer was, with regards to network protocols, define what's meant by a layer. So go back and copy that definition, because that's what OCR think it is. Of course, there are different ways of defining it. All right. So that pretty much is today wrapped up. Revision ideas from me are pretty much revise. Table for your protocols, so you know what each one does. Learn some basic information about each layer. Do some work on the hex binary conversions. Make sure you know how to do that, because it's easy to forget. For next week, for next time, think about having a look at Python, just reminding yourself, and keep that revision going. All right. And next time we look at threats. All right. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. If you want to stay and chat for a minute because you want any help, I'm more than happy to do that. But that is the 29 crumbs, big numbers today. That's the bit today, the teaching bit today. But I'm more than happy to go through some questions, which I will do. Let me go back to here. Okay, so I've got Swiftblade who says, is anything taken out of the test because of COVID? It's a really good question. The government have said that they're going to let us know by February the something or other if they're going to take something out of the exam, which is a little unhelpful because that's quite a long way away. I know they've done this for other subjects, but my best theory at the moment is that because they've reduced what's expected from you in the NEA, from the programming part of it, I have a feeling that they'll say the exam will remain unchanged. I could be wrong, and they take something out of it. But looking at the specification, I'm struggling to see in paper one what they would really want to take out of it. I mean, it could be they did the legal, ethical, moral. That would be the most likely candidate, but we don't know yet, and we won't know until February. So we need to act as though it's going to be a full exam at this stage. And at least by February, if they do pick something, it'll be one fewer thing to revise, but we don't know is the answer. And of course, as soon as we know, we'll let you know, and we'll adjust what we do as needs be. Okay? You are welcome. Has anyone got anything else they want to ask before I vanish and have my pizza for tea? Any other questions? Is the networks topic taken on the checklist, Bogdan? If it's not on the checklist, it won't be in the exam. That is, I didn't put the checklist on there, but the checklist was put on there after the exam was made because we thought it was wise to tell you what was in the exam so that you could revise those topics. And at least that way, the feedback you get is based on a set of topics that you knew were going to come up, rather than saying it's the whole thing. Because at this stage, it's an awful lot to try and. I mean, you've got 10 subjects to revise for, so you guys have got it tough at the moment. So my understanding, Bogdan, is that it isn't on there. Yes, it is pizza tonight. I might have to chop some mushrooms and olives up and put it on there, which could be quite nice. I do like a pizza occasionally. I try to avoid it because it's not the healthiest food choice, but after my A23 experience tonight, I think I deserve a pizza. Okay, is there anything else that people would like to ask me about? And I taught each group for an hour sometime last week, and you know the information that I told you then about what you should be revising. Think back to that. Think back to the stuff that I forced you to write down. That's what you need to focus on. Okay. Thanks, Bogdan. All right, guys. Listen. Have a lovely evening. Good luck tomorrow. Just remember, take your time. You generally finish these exams too early. And if you're sat there twiddling your thumbs with half an hour to go, that means you've done something wrong, because it does take the full length of time to get through it. Okay? All right, see you guys tomorrow. Those who are being started in north where I am. Usual time, usual place. See you tomorrow, guys. Good luck. Bye bye.